Our cousins. Did you know they were our cousins?
No.
They were our cousins, Stan and Mary Todd.
Oh my goodness.
No, Stan and Mary. Was it Todd?
Yeah,
No.
I think it was Todd.
Yeah,
I think
it was. It is. Joe's best man, Flo, married their daughter.
Oh.
But didn't have a parachute, didn't open, and she didn't know there was when they had two parachutes. She didn't know the top one didn't open, and she lived.
How far did you fall in?
I saw her at a wedding up at Storm Mountain, Big Cottonwood Canyon, and she limped. She lived. She did not realize the top parachute didn't open.
I don't think it was Todd.
That's named Todd, yeah. Did you know that? That's your cousin.
I didn't know.
I could just barely remember going to Todd reunion. And I just remember my dad and I going.
Just past Valentine's Day, Joe went to boot camp when I was 17.
Oh.
That was my Valentine.
Oh, let's see.
And my first letter, very sweet.
She hadn't changed at all.
No, she hasn't.
She's still
Oh, I have. I was so bashful.
She told me to say
May,
that.
my cousin May.
Did you hear what he said?
What?
She told me to say that.
I heard you talking about Michael Fox. Joe's going on 17 years. When he had 10 to 12 years, one day the doctor said, I'd say he didn't have Parkinson's today. He's just gone downhill like this in the last 2 years. Because we went to Israel 4 summers ago, and he, you know.
That's incredible.
But he's been on medication.
And now, let's go back to this. You were bashful? I can't even imagine
I was
you
so
being
bashful.
Wanda.
I was scared to death growing up. We were taught to be seen and not heard.
Okay.
I gotta find Dad.
You could sit down here.
Okay, there's a
Wonder we
picture.
could hook up the spine.
No. There's a picture of Dad and his first
Couldn't
cousin.
wait till we could afford to
Oh
buy
my
one.
heavens, no, I've never seen a picture of you.
No.
It's her wedding day, Bernice.
Now, who's Bernice?
Bernice? Okay. My dad lost both of his parents when he was 14 years old. His mother died of childbirth, my grandma, when she had Aunt Mary. A sister of mother, of grandma, raised Aunt Fanny was her name, Hayes. Aunt Fanny raised Aunt Mary, because grandma died of childbirth. And they said grandpa died, he died 10 months later of a broken heart. And they said he had a popcorn stand in Ogden. That's from Ogden, my dad's family. And the V, PH, and PH, ENS, Stevens, are all the same. My dad's oldest sister died 2 years ago, 106 years old. She said back, well, I read it, I've been trying to do these 4 genealogies. In the 17th century, a brother decided to change it to V instead of PH. When we were in North Carolina and South Carolina, that's where Stevens originated. A lot of them originated in New York and came over. Dad's family probably went down south to North Carolina, down in there. And we saw these great big cement buildings, 3 and 4 stories, with the name Stevens right in the wall. Not lettered on later, but it's, and well, it has to be our family. So you get looking at the genealogy, that's where they came from. Anyway, V and PH are all the same. Oh, you didn't see this? I bet I didn't let this slide. Well, I had a big picture of Dad, I did. So you could see that. So you met at a roller skating rink. My gosh. Now is that Dean? Is that Joe or my twin brother? Is that Joe at boot camp?
Wayne.
That's Wayne. I'm a twin, Rick. To a blonde.
You're ready. Redhead, huh?
Yeah, this is my natural color, really, almost. Well, I'm gray, but my hair goes sort of
You
totally
like your fifth one. You like your fifth one.
No, it's my first one. I haven't used my stand.
Oh, whatever.
Well, I'm gonna have to buy some of those nuggets. They're tasty.
They're very pretty.
We're both 17 there.
Oh, my heavens
Isn't that
sakes.
cute?
Yes.
Wayne's still alive.
You can have my.
Well, I mean, I remember, did he come to either mom or dad's funeral? One of them.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
seeing
would be
him fairly
Wayne.
recently.
Oh, wouldn't be Wayne? Well,
No.
which one was it then?
Look,
Don?
Don.
Oh, okay.
I saw Wayne.
This is what the nuggets look like.
Oh.
When I first discovered
Mom.
you guys, it said new on the package. 3 times I sat down
This
in
is your
one
twin
sitting
brother,
and ate
Wayne.
the whole package.
Wait, turn it up.
I did that 3 times.
Yeah.
Ate
Okay.
the whole package all in one sitting.
Well,
You start eating them.
Oh, I said I'm gonna have to buy some.
The best way is to hold them and get them warm.
What's that?
Get them a little warm. And then they melt in your mouth. Just, mm.
Well,
There's some that we buy that are the, with almonds and raisins.
Oh, raisins.
Yeah.
That's good.
now why, you don't think it would've been Wayne, because where is
No.
Wayne?
Wayne still lives on 39th South in a trailer court. The homes that are, they're portable homes, I guess. What do you call those? Mobile homes?
Yeah.
Trailer
Because I thought it was him.
Because in the last 5
No.
years, I was with my mom somewhere and she told me it was Wayne. Wherever I saw him.
Yeah, see, we're going to Glenn Miller's show next week.
Well, yeah, that's what I told you. She said, we can't get together next week because we're going to Glen Miller.
And there's Dawn.
Yeah.
You guys aren't seeing these.
Well,
But I'm looking for Dad.
We can send the book over.
There's my Valentine. Oh, my first letter I got from Joe, he talked about marrying me before he went in the service. And I signed it, a loving friend. I still get after him about that. Just last week I said, a loving friend. How do you like that? It took so big, he left just before Thanksgiving. I'm trying to find a picture of Dad. He's back here somewhere. Okay, it's an 8 by 10 one, so if I rush, I'm gonna miss it, so I better slow down.
Why don't you sit down and make yourself comfortable?
I'm fine, you guys.
You don't look like you are.
Come on,
Look
it's going
like
awkward.
a neat thing.
Maybe he's not in this book. Okay. I'm just getting a little anxious. Rick, did you know, you won't know, in 1981, July the 10th, Joe and I capsized in the Strawberry Reservoir
Now, I remember that.
Yes. I
all
remember.
night long. I've had a lot of adventures with that man, even in the shower.
Yeah.
You caught me just at the wrong time, I think.
You're not one that kisses and tells?
Mm-mm, I'm not. Oh heavens, I'm worse than that than I've ever been. I never used to say anything.
I haven't seen hardly any pictures of our grandson.
Now that's Mother's. Mother. Come on, Dad, where are you?
See if the light on her hair, the lighter.
Yeah, so I say in here I could see more of the.
Reddish.
She just went and had her hair little
Highlighted.
highlight. Yeah, little.
You look at everybody in the sun. I haven't seen anyone that doesn't have a cast of red hair. You look at their hair in the
Except
sun.
if it's gray.
Well, monastic.
No.
Well, now, brunettes, when they go gray, I think it's gorgeous.
You like this
Because you have
color?
that coloring. A redhead, though, I've never known a redhead to let her hair go gray. Aunt Ella? Remember Aunt Ella?
I don't know. No.
You don't remember
Oh, I
Aunt
mean-
Ella?
I remember who she is, but I don't remember I couldn't tell you what she looked like.
That was Grandpa's wife.
Second wife, yeah.
Third wife.
Boy, I don't remember
Third?
her.
No, I didn't know there was three.
Third wife?
Grandpa married.
Sit down and tell us more of this and stuff.
Grandpa, when Grandma died, when she was 42, I think.
Now the first your
Grandma-
the real
Catherine?
Sorensen.
Sorensen.
And then Grandpa married the housekeeper.
Oh,
That's all I know. I don't know how soon, I don't know anything about it, except Mother, I guess Mother must have told me he married the housekeeper, the one that came in and helped. Anyway, Grandma married this. Then he met, I remember when they were dating, Aunt Ella. I was 4 years old. Yeah. On Murphy Lane, when we lived on Murphy Lane, about 30th South.
He wasn't married to the housekeeper at that time?
Well, I guess she died.
Oh.
She passed away. Yeah, because I don't remember this second wife at all. I don't know her at all. I remember seeing your great-grandma, whatever your great-grandma was. Yeah.
No, it would be my grandmother.
Your grandmother. Your
Agnes.
grandmother. I remember she died when I
That would
was
be our
about
grandmother.
4. I remember 2 incidents of her. She got out of our car. I was 4 years old or 3, and I can see her walking towards their house on Redwood Road, where Kmart is. Every time I see that Kmart, I get a little upset. That
Well,
gorgeous
sure,
home's gone.
yeah.
And then I remember seeing her sitting in our home on Murphy Lane in the bed, a brass bed with, and Mother, she was eating. Those are the only 2 things I remember. Jet black hair.
Well, so now what did your mother tell you about her? We don't know anything about her either. We don't know anything about our dad. We don't know anything about our
All I
grandparents.
know about Grandma, our
Agnes.
grandma, is Mother commented once that she used to walk a couple of miles to help a neighbor that was sick. And Mother always told us that her mother died when she stepped on a needle.
Oh, and it broke in her foot.
And one doctor says, well, how could that have killed her? But your dad told me she died of what they used to call a fluttered heart.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
heart-
that
yeah.
makes more sense.
Yes.
Where did this needle part come in?
I've heard that story, but I
Yeah.
didn't ever hear that she died from
Now
it.
that's what I heard that Dad had said it was her heart, problem with her
My
heart.
mom told me that she stepped on a needle and it broke in her foot.
Mhm, mhm. And you know what I used to think when I was little? When they wore these shoes and the heels were about that high?
It was going to go in your foot.
I thought your foot grew down in there.
Now, I do remember hearing that she was very fussy housekeeper.
Oh, yeah.
And
Very,
she kicked,
very, very meticulous.
she kicked our dad out of the house because he teased.
Because he teased.
It was a big tease.
She'd never put up with Joe, would she? Oh, I can't find Grandpa or Joe. He's not in this book. What's this book titled?
I always
Honest
just
Stephen
loved your
family.
mother. I thought your mother was just the sweetest. I just loved her.
Oh, thank you. I have a lot to live up to, and I have a lot that, you know, we were raised by strict parents. We had to do right or we got beat. We had to be always right. Even if we broke a dish, we got spanked. And I remember one time Mother broke a dish. I was a teenager, and I said, I'm sure glad you did it, and not me. Dad?
Now, see, this is how I remember your mother looking.
Yeah.
That's what all the boys, my brothers in the
running
service,
right down my
Rick.
face here.
We all came back. War was about 4.5 years, and I thought they couldn't possibly, in no way, all of them come home. No way could they come home, all of them. They did. Joe had 4, counting Joe, and they all came home. And I'm getting all this literature ready to take to Glenn Miller's show next week. Nobody knows what World War II's all about. They had a theme one year of love letters. I don't know of anyone that's had love letters that knew their husband before they went in the service. I had to take them and show them what a love letter was.
You got one from a loving friend.
You're so cute. Look at him. Oh, I was never so disappointed in all my life. A loving friend. Oh.
Joey, are you ever going, is she ever going to forgive you for that?
No. Well, let's see. What's in that book? Well, you'll have to pass it around. I've got to find a picture of Dad. I can't understand why it's not in there. From the war? She never said a word.
And all 5 came back.
No, I came back. Turn this back. Jennifer and Jessica.
She's the one
Yeah.
Dad loved.
Who?
And Audrey.
Oh, oh golly, Uncle Glenn was like a second brother.
How did that?
He was always at our house.
I
He
don't
loved
know.
her, I knew that.
Is this your dad, Wanda?
Oh, that picture.
Dad, yeah, this is Dad was in World War I.
That does look just like her.
Who?
That looks, you can see through her brother's.
The most handsome man they've ever seen.
Maybe we better get one.
Better get yours out.
Take
There's a picture of your
Yeah,
dad.
there's a picture of Dad.
My dad's sister. I've never
I've
seen
never ever seen a picture of him,
him.
ever.
Ever me
Well, who
either.
does he look like, if any of
Well,
us?
I don't know, I can't
I
see
don't-
one.
I
I
can't
can't.
see
I can
any.
see Dawn,
Can you?
some of Dawn in there.
I mean, it takes someone outside of the family.
Yeah,
I
it
think
does,
sometimes.
especially if you haven't ever seen him before.
Now, Joe has a brother, Gib. None of his kids look like either one of his mother or dad. All three kids don't look like their parents. And yet they look like Joe.
Well, I think sometimes like it skips a generation or goes to a brother or a sister. Now, I have a son who looks like my brother. You see pictures of them, you know, and they think that they look alike. But I think sometimes it goes, but no, I can't see that. I think he looks like anyone.
Anyway, I can't
And
either.
people keep telling me that Teresa looks like me.
Now look at this picture.
I hear that over and over.
I don't know all these kids.
And when she was younger, they always thought she looked like Lorraine.
Oh, did they?
Yes. When they'd go on trips together, they'd always think that that was her daughter.
Oh, my goodness.
How's the temperature for you guys?
Well, I think it's a little cool,
Well, I'll close this door.
but
I
maybe
just remember
everybody
that.
else is fine.
I'm trying to get rid of this paint holder. Woo! I'm probably drunk from the paint fumes. This is Mother and all her great-grandchildren.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
Cheryl and her Connie, that's our daughter or another niece, decided to have a picture of all Mother's great-grandchildren and give it to Mother. And it was a Saturday morning. They were supposed to be at the photography shop at 10. I woke up and I thought, that picture's not going to mean a thing to those kids when they get older. If Grandma's not in it. So I called up Cheryl and her Connie, because I didn't want to overrule their
Mom.
idea, see if they okayed it. And I called, and I told Mother about it. It was supposed to be a surprise. Every one of them came, and most of the dads brought the kids. There were 54 of them.
Oh, my
Wow.
goodness.
And
That's how I remember your mom,
And
too.
that's the picture of all the kids.
Yes. That picture's in this. Yes.
Okay, about your dad. We had a family reunion here once, and being the hostess, I wasn't listening too good, and I wished I did, and I wish we could have recorded it. I remember him saying something once about his father, our grandpa, William Todd. When they arrived here, they had to dig out of a mountain out west and live in a dugout. I remember him telling that on the patio, and that's all I remember. I thought, geez, I wish I'd listened more. And you know, I have the history of all that Gertrude wrote. I've never read it.
I have that too.
I've never read it.
Neither have I.
I'm not a reader. I'm not a reader. I'd rather call Russia, our friends are in Russia, on a mission. I'd rather call them.
Yes.
We have friends in England. I call them every Christmas. Send them home card, yuck. I remember Mother saying, I don't know how many acres they had out there on Redwood Road. Do you kids know? Did you ever hear your mom? Well, I know it was a lot. It was a lot. How deep do you want me to go?
Well, it's wherever you want, whatever you want. Anything you think we'd enjoy hearing?
Life isn't all enjoyable.
Well, tell us the bad stuff with the good. We don't. We probably heard it.
You probably have, maybe.
Oh, I'm sure we have.
Okay, I told you about Grandpa marrying Aunt Ella. I remember them when I was 4 years old.
Do you remember his personality?
Grandpa's?
See, I don't remember him hardly at all. My only memory of him is one time we're going over there and I remember him playing the violin. My only other memory is him in the casket.
He was the best waltzer I ever danced with the Todd reunions. He took me and we just danced all around that floor, just so fast, and he was so strong. He'd lifted me up off the, oh, he was a wonderful waltzer. He liked music. And of course, what man doesn't like to eat? That's
But
like
did he have a personality like your mom? My mom said that his personality was similar to your mom's.
probably so.
But more quieter, more easy, more
Yeah.
loving, nurturing.
I remember one time when Alan was our brother. He was building a home next to where I grew up. And Grandpa went down there when the house was almost finished. Well, I used to go down there when the foundation, he watched Alan build, but Grandpa did. When he'd come over, watch it grow, you know. And this one time, he went in there and Dahle was his wife. Kicked him out of the house. Because he came in the house. Of course, it was all muddy, all brand new, no lawn, nothing yet. And he came in the house on her floors. I don't think they weren't even living in it at the time. And Grandpa felt so bad. He said, I've never been treated that way in my whole life. That marriage lasted 5 years. Poor Dahle, I found out later, she never matured. She never turned into a womanhood. She never matured. A very different girl. Anyway.
What was Agnes's personality like?
Grandma?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember
Oh,
those two scenes.
don't remember.
I remember Mother always telling the story that Grandma cried all the time after Jenny died. This was a little sister.
Yeah.
That Jenny died when she was 5 years old. And that Grandma cried and cried. This is in the story that Aunt Gertrude wrote. That the history of the genealogy. And Jenny came to Mother, Audrey, in a dream or whatever you want to call it, and told Mother, Audrey, to tell her mother, don't cry anymore, I'm real happy where I'm at, and don't cry anymore. And so Mother told her what had happened that night, and Mother said her mother never cried again. She felt better.
That's great.
So that's who Jenny Lee's named
Yeah, I
after.
knew that.
Aunt Gertrude and Uncle Kenneth's daughter, Jenny Lee, that's who they named after, Jenny.
Well, tell us about Dad now. Tell us about
I remember your dad coming over all the time. And he always had a different girlfriend, and they were always school teachers, as I remember. Real
school teachers.
And they were all very pretty women, very beautiful women. It's when you're a teenager and you're very impressive, and how the grown-ups look, and you know.
Oh, yeah.
You're trying to get ideas what you want to look like when you grow up and all that stuff. But he'd only bring them once. And then the next time it'd be another one.
Sounds
And-
like Josh before he was married.
He what?
Sounds like my brother Josh
Oh.
before he was
My
married.
son Josh is a lot like my dad.
Oh. In what way?
His humor, and he likes music, he likes drama, kind of his personality, the things he's interested in.
I'm just sick. I didn't go to that thing with being in the same state. What was that play? He was in the lead. I could just shoot myself for not even going. Your dad was in the lead.
About Papa.
Yeah. Was that the name? Yeah. And I
Something
didn't go.
Papa.
Anyway, yeah, he always wears his spats. You know what spats are, Rick?
What, shoes?
They're a cloth type thing they'd wear over their shoes. Uncle Glenn always was very spotless, clean. Clean as you could get. And he always, his shoes, I don't know if it was patent leather or he shined them that much. I remember him always spitting on them, and what if there was a smudge, he'd clean it off.
What did he look like when you first remember him? He had black
Coal
hair?
black hair. Had isn't Uncle Glenn's picture in that?
Yeah, we have some pictures of him when he was younger.
Okay. He had coal black hair, a mustache, very handsome, very tall. Uncle Glenn and Uncle Kenneth were very tall. Uncle Glenn and Uncle Kenneth had completely different personalities.
Well, it didn't even look alike, I don't think.
No,
No.
and
I mean, when you look at, the hair and the coloring in the face.
I don't know who I heard it from. Might have been my mom, that my dad, his looks were more like our grandmother's
yeah, the
family.
coloring, yeah.
And
the
then Uncle
coloring.
Kenneth's was more like the Todd.
I just remember Grandma's hair being coal black.
Oh.
Two times, right? And it was real long.
Mm.
And Uncle Glenn always brought us a big 10-pound box of chocolates at Christmas time.
Always
And
right.
Mother always kept it in the living room, which we never went hardly in that room.
Now, I can remember your front room being kind of that's where you're walking, this is the front room.
Yeah, you weren't allowed in front rooms. You didn't even use the front door. Well, I don't remember ever being allowed, but we just didn't use it. We were mostly in that big dining room, playing games or eating, or we just lived in the big dining room. Never went in the living room much at all. And but anyway, Mother kept that big 10-pound box of chocolates up on probably the radio. The Zenith radio they bought when Wayne and I were born in 1926. First radio. And
Just a kid.
and I go in there and eat about 10 chocolates at a time, sneaking. It was always dark.
We
in
did
there.
that. Got in the candy and snuck and eat.
Yeah, tastes better if you
All
sneak
kids
it.
do.
Joe, to this day, it tastes better if he can sneak it.
Well, of
He
course.
thinks he's sneaking it. I know every movie.
It does taste better, doesn't it?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Anybody ruins
The
it,
forbidden-
forget it.
That's right.
It's like forbidden fruit.
Yeah.
It tastes better.
Let's see. They always brought different girls. And, this day I stopped not only going to say hello, just within the last 10 years, that long. How long's your dad been gone? Oh, well, it doesn't matter. It wasn't too many years ago. I was just going to say hello. I was there 4 hours. I'd have given anything to have had a recording. Your mother and dad told me so many things I didn't know. I said, Uncle Glenn, I remember Uncle Kenneth going on his mission. He was on his mission, and Mother used to talk about him a lot. And she always had a picture of Uncle Kenneth. So we knew him when he came home, practically,
Mm-hmm.
I said, how come I don't know a thing about you? And I found out later he was on his mission when I was born in 1926. I don't know, no wonder I don't remember. Do you know anything about his brother Marlon? You don't?
See the one that got shot?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, the fact that he shot him. Yeah, we.
You know that story then?
Yeah.
The whole story?
Well, tell us what we may not know the whole story.
Well, I heard.
He wrote it in that history he gave
Oh,
me,
did
but
he?
it was very brief.
Oh.
Very, very, very brief.
I heard when they were young, and what the age was, 10, 12, I figure. The brothers were out in the shed, and there was this gun. Now, one of the uncles said it was someone else. Mother always said it was Uncle Glenn. So there's a discrepancy. Is that the right word? You forget.
Discrepancy.
Of who shot the gun. But anyway, Mother said Uncle Glenn picked up the gun and aimed it at Marlon and had a bullet in it and shot him. But he lived.
Shot him in the stomach.
And then one day when he was 17 years old, Uncle Glenn was on his mission. And Grandma Catherine saw Marlon bending over, throwing up his bowel movements. And she knew immediately something was horribly wrong. And in those days, when he was shot, they didn't have enough knowledge of surgery to let those intestines grow, so it tightened it off. And that's when Marlon died. So the mission president, Uncle Glenn, only had about one or two he was almost at the end of his mission. And I get me goosebumps. The mission president told Uncle Glenn to go home to his brother's funeral. He was released right then. That had been about 1926. And Uncle Glenn told me that when Mother and Dad met him at the station, whatever he came home in, he was in Colorado.
Yeah, I knew you were in Colorado.
Dad said to him, "You can't go to the funeral in that suit." And he says, "Your dad went and bought me a whole brand new outfit to go to the funeral."
What was wrong with that suit?
Probably raggy.
Well, you know how when they're on a mission,
Oh.
I hear some come home now with the lining all out of it.
Oh.
You know, I guess in those days you wear one suit and that was it. That's all you could afford.
And they just make do for a long
Right.
time.
They just make Dad just says you can't go. Dad used to take Shirley and I uptown and sit on Broadway and tell us how to dress and not to dress. And he says, I have a secretary. He was. Shall I mix up my stories or I'm going to forget?
Do whatever you want, whatever isn't for you.
I remember sitting home while Joe was gone and my dad said,
Joe, goodness.
Dad says, Wanda, don't you think Joe's just out there not doing anything or any girls at all? Well, there weren't any boys to date here.
They're
all gone.
Yeah.
Well, I told you about the Social Security audit. After my dad passed away and I went with my mom over to the Social Security to transfer all that over. And they asked point blank, was your dad married before? And my mom said no. And I said, Mom, Dad was married before you. But she, yeah, I think she knew. I don't know.
Of course
if
she
was thinking
knew.
at the
She's the
time.
one that told me.
She knew.
And she said to the little Social Security worker, but he didn't have sex with her.
He did?
He said, no, she said to this little worker, but he didn't have sex with her.
Oh,
I never consummated them.
No, I understand in those days, I don't know about, I just don't know. To get a marriage annulled, you couldn't have had sex.
Right.
If you get an annulment,
I
otherwise
don't
it's a
think it
divorce.
mattered to this little Social Security.
Mom wanted him to know.
Well,
I thought,
all I know is, heck, I don't know anything about anything. Who knows anything? We didn't know anything about anything.
Well, neither did we.
Sure knew a lot more than I did. Even to this day, I've never had friends that we've ever discussed
Yeah.
anything other than how sweet our kids are, how wonderful our husbands are. We never did get on an outside subject. None of my friends, we never. In fact, one night, someone brought up a French kiss. And Beth said, what is a French kiss? There wasn't one of us, 17 of us, could tell her what a French kiss was. We didn't have the nerve to tell her what a French kiss was. Is this being recorded?
Well, I'll tell you, the word sex was never brought up in our house.
The first time...
You didn't even say that word.
No,
you didn't even pretend like it happened.
Nobody ever said it.
Well, no.
You know what brought it up? What started it? South Pacific, the movie South Pacific. Bloody Mary said to the lieutenant, you sexy lieutenant. From then on, they started using the word sex in the movies. And when Clark Gable said in Gone with the Wind, he didn't give a damn, that's the first time they ever swore on a movie.
Yeah, I knew that.
From then on, now look where it's
Look
got.
what it is now.
Joe said in the Navy, he never heard anyone use the four-letter word. And I asked my brother Don, I says, Don, this is just recently. Don's almost 80. He flew 59 missions over Europe. I said, Don, did you ever hear the Army or Air Force men use the four-letter word? He says, very seldom. He says, the only fellows very seldom used it were, most all of them were from the South. Can you believe that?
Amazing.
that's
And look at it
incredible.
today.
They use it a lot in the military now.
They can't talk without saying it.
I remember we went to a movie, all four of the main cast, they didn't have to learn the script. That's all they said was the four-letter word. All through the whole movie. Joe wanted to leave. He didn't, he just kept wanting, and it was a mystery. And I didn't want to leave, I had to find out how it ended. But Joe just hated it. He wanted to leave, because that's all they said, all four people.
It's disgusting, and it isn't necessary.
Well, they don't even think anything of it. I was so appalled one time I walked kitty corner over to through the football field at Murray. I about died, the language I heard on the football field.
Yeah, I hear it. I work
I
at a
about
school.
died.
I work at a school. I know what the language is like.
I think President Bush is going to do us good, I hope. At least the world's trying to change it around a little. I hope. Oh, it's horrible. Oh, here are two guys in the service, they never used the four-letter word hardly at all. Anyway, Uncle Glenn and I still came over a lot. I don't know if Uncle Glenn looked at Mother as a second mother. How old was your dad when his mother died? He must have been real young.
I mean, 19.
Was he that old?
19. Mom was 17, Dad was 19. Okay.
Your dad was 19 when his mother died.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, then he'd probably look at Mother as an older sister, just like she was.
And my
Now,
mother was 17, I think, when her dad
Now,
died.
Mother died, was born in...
She was
11.
much younger than that.
She was 11.
Well,
Mother,
then who was 17? Maybe it was... maybe
Marlon was
nobody
17 when he died.
Oh,
I
don't
remember
know.
that.
Where's my...
Was
Okay,
he
Ma-
on his mission when she died? That's what I
Marlon
understood.
was. I don't know. No.
How long before
Oh, I don't know.
Marlon did she die?
Uncle Glenn didn't say what year he died, huh? Marlon. I don't know.
I'd have to look it up in history. Mom was only 11 when her dad died?
Yeah, she was young.
She was way young.
I don't know where I got the idea. She
Okay,
only
Mother was
17.
born in 1998.
1898.
She was 8 years older.
1898.
She was 8 years older.
Dad
8
was
years older than Uncle Glenn.
1905.
See, I could never remember. I knew there was quite a
About
difference.
7 years
So
there.
he probably looked at Mother as an older, but she was an older sister, because he was always at our house. Never had any place to call home.
Well, then he
That's
didn't
when
get
he married
married until he
Daniela.
was later.
What?
And he didn't get married till he was
Yeah, and he
quite
was
old.
married to Daniela, which would make I guess. Anyway, I guess he really felt at home at our house, because he was there a lot. And I remember him always saying after we ate, he got an old piece of crust or an old piece of bread, he'd sit there and...
Where did he live at that time?
Probably at home,
At home?
on Redwood Road. Yeah, I did. Yeah, because I remember Nona, Aunt Ella's daughter, living there. When we went to, they took us to our first 24th of July parade. Nona did. Where was I with your dad? Anyway, he was at our home a lot, and when he came to eat, he always wanted just an old crust as hard and old as he could find. And put jam on it. and eat it.
He preferred stale things.
Oh, I do too. Bread is my weakness. If I can have a piece of old crusty bread. Anyway. Me and Wayne, they'd sit there and eat at the table. I bet an hour after everyone had gone, eat on this old hard bread and jam. And then there's this cute little Joe Glenda was born. Oh, yeah, then they had Glenda, and they still came over a lot. And Joe just loved little kids. He just loved them, so he and Glenda got along just like this.
We did, all right.
And every time Glenda would wet her pants, Mom would get after her. Where's Joe? She tried to change the subject. Where's Joe? This is when we were dating.
Well, I must have done a lot of that because my mother tells me that I did it at home and I wet my pants outside and took off my underwear and flipped it in the bushes. And
Glenda, you rebel!
I guess I just this liberated spirit here.
You just didn't want wet diapers, I guess.
You didn't want to be stopped either. You
That's
just
right.
get the wet thing off and be
Yeah,
on
she
your way.
didn't want to. Well, you should have lived in Mexico. They don't wear diapers. They don't wear anything. Oh dear. Anyway.
What was that I missed?
I don't know,
I think
honey.
she must have been training you because
Yeah,
the
you
story
were.
I heard this, it was your underwear, wasn't
Well,
it?
sometimes-
Yeah, I
underwear,
remember
yeah,
bringing
sometimes
training
about-
pants.
Well, that's what I was talking
You
about,
didn't like
underwear.
them feeling wet on the inside?
Yeah.
Well, why not? I mean, who likes wet undies?
But anyway, Joe and Glenda got along very well. And I remember one time, and Joe was always an hour and a half late. Every date.
Oh.
Every date, an hour and a half.
Did you just hate that?
I hate it with a passion.
Absolutely.
When you kids weren't here out at 6, I started worrying about, oh, they're lost. They can't find the house. I go by the clock. I'm a clock watcher. I'm just a clock watcher.
I like to be punctual too.
Me too.
And Joe doesn't know what a clock is.
When you're out on a project or something like that, it's easy to complete what you're going
You have to complete it before you go on to the next move.
for. Something like that. Is that what I said?
My husband says those same things.
What?
Well, because he had his own business, and he said, do you want me to stop right in the middle and come home and be there right
Yeah,
at
but like his partner, he had a partner when he first went into business. It's okay to be late once in a while, but every time? Anyway, Uncle Glenn, this one time, we couldn't go anywhere till the dishes were done. Uncle Glenn says, I'll help you do the dishes. And we're going to get you out of here. I want you to leave as soon as these dishes are done and not be here when Joe shows up. He said, I'll help you do the dishes. But Joe showed up before I got out of there. But Uncle Glenn said, I want you out of here. I don't want you even here when Joe shows up. A loving friend.
It was pretty friendly.
Then they started having more children, I guess. And then they buy your home, remember?
David was one.
Well, I remember them having all the kids.
My baby pictures were taken in that home, so.
I
they
think she
had it
said when
I
David was
It was a
one.
long
Was
time.
when you moved there.
They lived in that little garage for a while.
Well, in that big home, that Haywarden, that great big house within the room. Do you remember that?
Where?
In Granger area? That big old 2-story house, and it's got Haywarden engraved right on the front of the house.
Where's this?
About
Not
32.
Grandpa's home.
No,
No.
it's right after they got married. They rented a room, I think.
No, I didn't know about that.
I've never heard about that. I heard about the garage.
Yeah, I
About
did too.
3200
Chicken
West,
coop or something it was at
Yes.
one time.
and somewhere between 41st and...
I probably knew it at the time. but
It's
I
still
can't
there.
remember.
It's still there. It's a big old 2-story house, and it has
Oh.
Haywarden printed right on the...
It's 3200 West.
I think it's through... I'd have to drive
What's
over
that?
that way. Somewhere between 41st and probably 48.
Oh, gotta get some pictures
And
of
now
it.
did they,
There was a restaurant that was going to refurbish that and turn it into a restaurant. Is the only reason I know about that. And she said, we lived in that house.
Figure out.
We lived in that house when we were first married. She said we had one of the rooms. And it's a gorgeous,
I probably
gorgeous
knew it at the
home.
time, but I can't remember now.
You don't know where that is?
I know where the Haywarden is, but I mean, I don't know the address, but I mean, I remember seeing it all the time, but I didn't know they'd lived there.
But I don't know how long they lived there.
Where's those pictures of the new log cabin?
And behind you. We're going into Joe's history. That on the wall. Joe was born in a log cabin.
Oh my.
Joe's father was a chiropractor. One time, Joe grew up thinking the damn medical doctor was one word. He still thinks that. He does not like to go into the doctors. He was born in him. He was raised that way. The damn medical doctor is one word. At one time they couldn't practice. I'm guessing at that time, Joe's from 7 boys. Joe's in the middle. 3 older and 3 younger. And Grandpa, his cousins, and a few men decided they'd go to Arco, Idaho, and mine silver. And Joe was born there, and another brother, Ron, just older than Joe. Ron and Joe were born in this log cabin. When we were square dancing, blah, 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 we found out the oldest man that lived in Arco. Mr. Barnes was his name. We went to the post office. Do you know anything about a silver mine out of Arco, Idaho? and they told us to go to see Mr. Barnes. Well, square dancing, we square danced with, I forget his first name, but it was Barnes. And every time he and Joe got together, they said, oh, we're having a narco reunion. So when we went up to Idaho in our truck and camper, we looked up Arco, Idaho, went to the post office, saw this Mr. Barnes, and this fellow we square danced with had just been killed in a plane wreck.
Oh my goodness.
It was the day of the funeral, or it was 4 days before he got killed. And they had 7 children, and I think he was in his late 30s. Just a young couple, and they had 7 kids that we square danced with. He was in a private plane. They traveled a lot, and they crashed. I don't like private planes. We know about 3 people that have died in private little planes.
Did you like your trip to Israel?
Oh,
I'd love to
loved
go
it.
there. See, that's one of my dreams, is to go to Israel.
Well, right here. This is water from the Sea of Galilee.
Oh my.
I would never have believed. Now, when we were there, it was 4 or 5 summers ago. That's our last.
I remember talking to you when you had just gotten back.
Okay. And then our friends went just within a year ago. And when I got home, I thought, gee, I wished I had taken a bottle and got some water from the Sea of Galilee. But we had Sunday morning, a beautiful fireside right on the banks of the Sea of Galilee. A lawn, beautiful green grass on the lawn. And then later, after the fireside was over Sunday morning, a lady took her shoes off and waded in it's like little springs. It was clear water, little springs coming into the Sea of Galilee, just off the lawn. And she was in her pantyhose, but she waded in it. I just took my finger, put my hands in it, kind of. I would not have believed it were that clear, or that would have been from the Sea of Galilee, if I hadn't seen it myself.
Mm.
But they just gave me this about in November. She says they did bring home some water from the Sea of Galilee. And I would never believe that if I hadn't seen how clear. And I brought that postcard home. And that boat was just found, does it say in 1998? At the bottom of the sea. Oh, I've covered it up probably. That boat that's in that picture, they just discovered it in 1998.
Oh my.
They just brought it from the bottom of the ocean.
That's another story.
That's one of on my list of, dreams,
Well,
is to go to Israel.
What makes me so sad is when you see them bombing where Christ carried the cross, and they're bombing all that. When they first started showing it on television, to see all that history being destroyed.
I had no idea it was so green.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Well,
a pretty old boat. It is
And
really.
I know now why, I always hear how they're bathing Jesus' feet. The ground is just like hard clay.
Mhm.
It's just hard dirt. And no wonder they had to bathe his feet so much. With oil and all. Oh, that ground is so hard. And when you see the tomb, you actually see the bed. And it's so old, you can tell it's the real thing.
Mm.
That's another story I'll have to look at someday. I've got a whole bunch of those. In fact, I have a tape from Israel when we were there. Yeah, that's quite fascinating. And do you know what the Solomon's Temple's made of?
Mm-mm.
This is the cabin.
Oh, honey, that's right. Oh, Joni's cabin. Behind you, honey. Anyway, we went up there with all of our kids one day. Well, when we first saw it that one time, when this friend we square danced with was killed, the cabin was up, and it was yellow, logs like, but it was tilted. It was tilted. And Joe said, and they moved right after Joe was born. I think he was 2 or 3 when they moved, came back to Salt Lake. Joe says that he remembers the cabin and another little cabin beside of it. You can see it now. Those are the pictures we took on the right when we first went there. Don't just take that off and pass it around, Glenda.
This one here?
The littlest one. And we took all our kids. We went on a trip. So
Is this where he was born?
they said Grandma had it so cute. White crisp curtains. I could just...
Where's this at?
Arco, Idaho.
Where's Arco you're supposed to
18
have?
miles up in the mountains.
Where is Arco?
By
In
the
Idaho?
lava hot, or the lava hot days, what's that?
Oh,
volcano?
Lava Hot Springs.
Yeah, right by, that's where Arco is, in that area.
Oh, if I'd read, I'd have known where Arco is.
Honey, it's behind you, you can just sit there. Anyway, do what you want.
No,
We're supposed to go dancing next week.
no, I forgot what I'd come up here for.
I said, if we can't dance, we'll just stand and hold each other.
There again.
That is amazing.
And it was flat. Dean was married, our son. So Dean and his son-in-law brought home some lumber. And they found an outhouse seat. 3 holes, 3-holers. And it must have been made with 2 boards because they just found-
Deluxe
Yeah.
model.
You bet. It had 3 of them. That was deluxe. And it was just half of it. The board had a half a circle cut out. So it must have been made with 2 separate boards. They still have that. They're going to do something with it. But Dean, about 3 Christmases ago, he kept saying for 3 years, I'm going to get that made for Dad's Father's Day, my father's, his birthday, Christmas. Finally said one Christmas, about 3 Christmases ago, I'm going to get that finished. So that's the frame from the lumber from the log cabin.
That's a neat picture.
And Dean did that. I'm going to say Wayne Dean forever. Our daughter Sherilyn Shirley. Shirley Sherilyn. Did you do that?
Oh, heavens, yes.
And I found this nail a couple of years later in our truck. And this big nail had to come from when we were up there. I found it in the truck a couple of years later. I thought, well, what do I do with the nail? Rick, have you ever seen a nail that big?
Mm-hmm.
You guys? That nail.
They used them at 12.
Oh, did
I
you?
better record everything because I'm starting to forget now. I better record things now. I'm getting everything
Oh,
mixed up.
yeah.
It's amazing. You can get dates mixed up
Oh, you
sometimes
do.
and
Or do you- there's
names
There's too
and.
many things to remember.
Well,
They say it's not your forget, there's too many things. What you used to think was important isn't important.
There you go.
well, not only that, but
Sorry.
but your
Old car, and the Veterans Hospital's up on E Street on 5th East, or 5th South, wherever, somewhere up the hill. Poor Uncle Glenn, he had to get out and crank that car. It
Oh, now I
keeps
remember
dying.
that.
It keeps dying, and you get out there, because Dad was in the hospital, and all his brothers, they didn't drive, they were too young. So Uncle Glenn would take us up to see Dad at the hospital. I remember him
I
cranking that.
remember that
old
car, him cranking. I remember that. David and I both talked about that. They had no floorboard in it, but cardboard. You could see the street as you drove down.
That's our car you're talking about?
Yeah, and no, that was Mom and Dad's car.
Oh, yours, Mom. And well, this
That's
is our
what
car.
they had, and
Oh,
I
when
can
they
remember
had
Dad
cars.
out there
Well,
cranking up in the morning.
Yeah.
We went someplace and Mom would say, this car's an embarrassment, Glenn. And you could see the road as you were driving down the street.
Hey,
It was so worn out.
when when we wore a 4-inch heel made out of steel, one of our Pontiacs was so rusty. Every time I got in, my heel would go through the floor. I got so every time I went over a puddle of water. I guess I was in my 30s, 40 years ago. I lift up so I wouldn't get mud on my feet. And it took me a long time, even after we sold that car and got another car, to stop lifting my legs up. Oh dear. Yeah, I felt real bad when your dad lost his job with the police. Then I was kind of relieved, because then I knew we wouldn't be patrolling Joe and I. And it took me years to figure out why did they put the flashlight on me? Why are they doing that?
Well, and it was, then he lost, he went out there where he couldn't work because it made him sick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And threw up, I guess, all the time, or nauseated, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then went to the smelter and got laid off there.
Yeah, they
So
went
he
out of
had-
business.
What did I know?
I don't know, what did you want, honey?
That's a great, you'd have to go someplace.
That's okay, honey. I'll help you. What do you want? What else to do? What I first liked about Joey was so well-mannered.
Okay, there you go.
He just turned
Kids all the time when they were younger.
6 months. For 6 months.
Oh, that must have been
You had
hard.